Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. Winston Churchill. And of course, Winston would know his continuous efforts throughout his lifetime made him one of the greatest prime ministers in the history of England. Saw England through World War II. I want to read that again. Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. And your continuous effort in learning how to read these stock charts, which again is the key to your future. Think about it. If you can accurately read stock charts, ETFs, be able to follow price movement, what does that do for you? It empowers you. It opens up your future and your ability to garner untold wealth. Now, we're not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. We want you to study with us. If you don't have our book, buy it. Let's jump into these charts. We see everything up but TLT. That's 20-year bonds. They're down a little bit for the day. And again, that's just what we wanted to see. On our last charts that we review, we do see that oil is down pretty decent for the day. Bitcoin up. And real estate up. So we'll get into those in just a little bit. Let's go through our four big charts first. S&P 500 up for the day 1.48%. Brighten those charts a little bit. We see that a nice green up candle is forming with a wick on top, no wick on the bottom. Price above the weekly trend line and the 2-day. Look at that price percent oscillator spiking up. Derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. Quite pretty. Go to the 2-day chart. We see a nice big green up 2-day candle finished forming. And again, the prior candle represented Thursday and Friday. That was a red open box slowdown, and then we saw things accelerate on Tuesday and Wednesday. Price percent oscillator heading up, derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. And don't forget, we had that weekly vertical crossover. When was it? Back on the Friday, the 8th? Yes. And we look at the 2-day, go from the 2-day to the 4-hour. And of course, we see that 4-hour chart spinning top in the morning, up further in the afternoon, reaching a higher high during the afternoon. Price percent oscillator heading up, looking quite nice. And again, that weekly vertical crossover still in effect. Beautiful. Continues to move up. We like seeing that. Why is it happening? Can't tell you. Nobody's working. Country slowly coming back after weeks and weeks. The world, weeks and weeks off. Market's going up. Hey, the market goes up because the market goes up. We follow the trend. And my friends, it works, doesn't it? Most of the time. Look at that weekly vertical crossover back on the 1st of May. The week ending then on the Nasdaq 100 QQQ, or the cubes as some call it. We see that price percent oscillator heading up, derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum, price reaching a higher high for the week, price above the weekly trend line. That is pretty and beautiful to see. Go to the 2-day chart, and you see this latest 2-day candle, green spinning top. It did reach a higher high. Price is just a little below that latest 2-day trend line. We could redraw that a little bit, but let's just leave it where it is right now. Price percent oscillator flattening, derivative oscillator flat also. So again, that's on the 2-day chart. And again, Q's up 0.55% for the day. See, down move as far as our Heikin-Ashi candlesticks go in the afternoon. We had that crossover going down back on Tuesday morning. And we see it in Tuesday afternoon, down in the morning on Tuesday, and then a green spinning top. We see that price pushing through the 2-day trend line. So again, we're seeing some weakness there, not only with the Heikin-Ashi candlesticks, but also with the price percent oscillator and the derivative oscillator. So keep your eye on things if you're still in that Q's trade. It has been so good to you for many weeks now. And again, continues on the bigger chart, the biggest chart, to look good. And again, like we said, we're seeing some flattening on a little bit of weakness on the 2-day. So keep your eye on the prize. Now, we leave stocks, we go to bonds. Remember, we had the weekly vertical crossover going down this last Friday, the 22nd. This week, red down candle. Now we're not plumbing the lows. Let's see the low, 162.59, 162.05. So we're not plumbing the lows we hit back on the week ending the 8th of May, or even the, well, let's see, are we hitting? Yeah, not even hitting the low we hit back on the week ending the 15th of May. So again, it is a red down candle. Price percent oscillator's heading down, derivative oscillator heading down, but just keep your eye on that. Like we said, down 0.15%. Not much for the day, but we do have a red down candle. Price percent oscillator moving down. Derivative oscillator flat. This is the 2-day chart. So price is below the 2-day trend line, and it is below the weekly trend line. That's good to see. 4-hour chart. We can see where it crossed over, going down in the morning and then sort of leveling out in the afternoon. So let's see just what's going on there. Are we reaching some kind of bottom or plateau on the 4-hour? Continue to watch that 2-day and weekly. But again, we still have that weekly vertical crossover that just started in effect. What about gold? Gold, while bonds were down 0.15%, gold was up 0.15%. Interesting. We have a red down candle with a little wick on top, long wick on the bottom that has formed. Price percent oscillator heading down, derivative oscillator losing upward momentum. Price percent oscillator is still positive. We go to the 2-day chart, and of course it crossed over, going down all the way back on the 11th of May, went up for a few days after that, and now is starting to move down again. Waiting to see if gold's going to have a crossover going down before the week's out. It could. If it does, we'll let you know. We'll pay attention to that. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum as that price percent oscillator is accelerating down. We look at the 4-hour chart, down in the morning, bit of a recovery in the afternoon. Price percent oscillator negative, derivative oscillator losing a little bit of downward momentum. So we'll continue to watch, see what there is to see in gold. So our up movements are continuing as per the weekly vertical crossover in the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, down as per the weekly vertical crossover on 20-year bonds. Now we're going to leave our 4 big charts. Check out Bitcoin, check out oil, and check out real estate. If you only care about those big charts, you are done for the day. Thank you so much for being with us. You hadn't purchased our book, please do so. We would love for you to have an autographed copy of the 2nd edition. Don't forget, we have some special training for all of our members. If you are not a subscriber, it's free. You should go to chartingwealth.com and sign up. Why? Because I want to relaunch toward the end of the week our special training on options. Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way. That fabulous 3-part series. If you've not taken it and you're interested in learning about options, you need to jump on it, my friends. It's free, but only to subscribers. And again, you subscribe for free. The special training we have today is Trading is Not a Savings Plan, ever. I want you to get that training. It is in your show notes for all subscribers. Please spend just a few minutes listening to that. I think you will get a lot out of it. Now, let's move on to Bitcoin, up for the day 3.75%. What do we see happening with this week? Well, we see a red down candle forming. Price percent oscillator still going up. Derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. Go to the 2-day chart. Of course, it's getting closer to crossing over, going down. We'll continue to watch really the second big down candle that we've seen in a while. Bitcoin had been really moving up strongly since it bottomed out. Well, it had slid sideways, moved up, slid sideways, and then took off starting around the 2-day candle, the 23rd of April, and went up, reaching a peak on the 11th of May, and then sideways, and now sort of trending down. Derivative oscillator losing upward momentum. Price percent oscillator still positive, but heading down. 4-hour chart, of course, that crossed over way back on the 11th of May after booming up prior to that. So again, we'll continue to keep an eye on Bitcoin. It was up for the day, but keep your eye on some weakening and sideways sliding we're particularly seeing on that weekly chart. That is where we are on Bitcoin. Let's move on to real estate, trying to cross over, going up. Real estate up 1.99% for the day. Nice green up candle forming. And derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. Will we have a weekly vertical crossover by the end of the week on real estate? Maybe. 2-day chart, of course, it crossed over back on the 9th, went up and then sideways for a long time, down, and then it's trying to trend up again. Derivative oscillator's gone positive on the latest 2-day candle, first time in a while, and the price percent oscillator spiking up nicely. Go to that 4-hour chart. Of course, it, for the last 2 days, been going up quite strongly, so we'll continue to keep our eye on it. Mark, if you're a real estate follower, mark your notes for a potential weekly vertical crossover by the end of the week. Nice to see, because real estate blew off a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of price. And be nice to see it crossing over, going up. Why? Why? With the country not working, just slowly trying to get back to work, and so much rent and mortgages not being paid, why would real estate be going up? Well, low interest rates. I don't know. Again, I don't ever pretend to know. All I do is follow price movement, and that's what I encourage you to do. Follow the trends, follow the vertical crossovers, particularly the weekly 2-day recrosses. Those things can be very, very helpful. That's what we do here every day, and my friends, it tends to work time and time and time again. Don't forget, end of this month, in the next few days, I'm going to be doing a rundown like I did a few weeks ago. This will be up through May. It will show you how accurate our weekly vertical crossovers were and profit potentials in your practice trades. Now we go to black gold, oil. What do we see going on there? Oil actually down for the day, 2.57%. Other than 20-year bonds, which were barely down, we see oil way down. 2.75%. And we see the price percent oscillator actually ticking over a little down. Derivative oscillator is continuing to lose downward momentum. Go to the weekly. From the weekly to the 2-day, we can see where the 2-day popped up and slid sideways. We have a red spinning top right now. Price percent oscillator barely gaining any momentum. Price percent oscillator heading up. Derivative oscillator barely gaining any momentum. So again, we'll watch, see how oil continues to move. That 4-hour chart, crossover going down in the afternoon. Oil lost a lot in the morning, gained a little bit back, slowed the descent down, it looks like, in the afternoon. Some derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. Like we said, price percent oscillator crossing over. So we'll continue to watch, see how oil settles out, see what real estate ends up doing for itself, if it's going to be a weekly vertical crossover by the end of the week, and just if Bitcoin's starting to lose some of its luster or just getting ready to sort of gain some steam after some up moves and then pop up again. That's where we are, folks. Thanks so much for being with us. Oh, don't forget, we have coming up very soon, in fact, it's going to be this next week, for all of our Patreon supporters. We appreciate all the new Patreon members. We have, for our Patreon members, coming up on Wednesday, the 3rd of June at 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time here in the States, we'll have our live call-in session, our special training for all of our Patreon supporters. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.